Hey everybody, I hope you all are having a great week this week. I have an awesome tackle hack in store for you guys today that I promise you will save you a ton of money on your swim baits, especially your swim baits that have a wire style harness on them. I'm going to show you guys what I do to keep that bait together that'll make it last 10 times longer than one just right off the shelf. So first thing I want to give you guys a rundown on these swim baits. You know, of course, you've got your weedless swim baits. You put a belly hook in. They have really good durability to them. They last a long time. In my opinion, the inline swim baits, such as this Big Bite B6 swimmer, are probably the most durable. They're great right out of the package. They're ready to fish. They run really, really well. And the line passes right through them. You tie off to your treble hook. Whenever you hook the fish, the bait swings free of the hook and it doesn't get thrashed whenever you got a big one on there. The worst thing that's going to happen here is you catch 50 to 100 bass and the tail finally falls off. So great bait right out of the package, ready to fish, extremely durable. But whenever we start talking about swim baits with a wire harness, most of them are relatively expensive. They are fish catchers at times. There's no way around it. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you get to catching fish. You catch 4 or 5. Let's say you're in a tournament. It's going to cost you time whenever you got to get out a new one. And on top of that, they're expensive. They're $15 to $20. And like I said, the worst thing that's going to happen, you're going to catch 5 or 6 fish. This wire harness is going to rip out completely, and then you're going to have to, break out another $20 bill to get a fishable bait, which is a good problem to have, but it gets expensive quick. And like I said, in a tournament situation, you don't want to have to break up your time as far as, whenever you should be catching fish versus trying to doctor up baits or get out a new one. So I'm going to show you guys a little system I put into this bait that'll hold this in there and make it last 10 times as longer. I mean, literally, I've had the tails fall off of them, or even the bait just flat out break in half from catching so many fish. So I really have no idea how many fish I caught on them after I put this system into it. But I'm going to zoom in here and show you guys how I go about doing this. And I think you guys will be really, really happy with it. So hang with me. I'm going to zoom in here. All right, so I got everything laid out here. I've got my bait, got my wire, everything laid out here. And I want to show you this bait right here. I've actually thrown a little bit and caught a couple fish on. And I wanted to show you, for the sake of this video, kind of what happens whenever this bait starts getting used and starts to tear up. Whenever you start pulling on this wire harness like this, it's going to kind of bring the belly part of the wire out the bottom of the bait, just like that. As you can see, there's a magnet in there. It's actually already started to tear a little bit. So I'm going to show you guys a pinning system that I put up through the belly of the bait that's going to make this bait last 10 times longer. Literally, you're going to throw the tail off of the bait, or the bait's going to break in half before it's done. And the wire's going to kind of stay intact, and it's going to be a way better experience for you. Like I said, you're going to get 10 times more fish out of each and every bait. So what I'm going to do with that is basically I've got some wire here. You can use an old spinner bait. That wire's about perfect size. Usually they're 35 thousandths or 40 thousandths size wire. I use 40 thousandths most of the time. I've got it in a big roll here. You can use a buzzbait wire. It's a lot heavier. It's usually about 55 thousandths. It'll work fine. It just adds a little unnecessary weight. So for the sake of everything here, I use 40 thousandths wire. I've got a big roll of it, and I'm just basically going to make me a big staple that's going to go through the bait. And the key to this is making sure everything is perfectly square. So you got two 90-degree bends here, and everything's, in line and ready to go. So it goes through the bait perfectly straight. So whenever you start doing this, take your wire and go down about 2 inches. About 2 inches is about perfect. It goes through the back of the bait perfectly where you can work with it. But then again, it's not going to be too short. And if you get it too long, it's going to be kind of hard to get both prongs to go through the belly of the bait and be even with each other. So 2 inches is perfect. And I'm going to bend the wire at a 90-degree angle. Like I said, perfect 90s. And then I'm going to take my pliers. About the width of the pliers is perfect as far as keeping everything square and the right width of the wire to be able to go through the belly of the bait. So about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to make sure everything's square here, and I'm going to bend that wire to make my staple here. That one right there is pretty good, and everything's pretty well in line. I'll cut it off with my clippers here. I've got a staple. See, that one right there is kind of running outward, so that's going to be kind of hard to run through that bait just perfectly. So I'm going to take my pliers and just kind of square it up a little bit. Everything's in line. That'll be an absolutely perfect staple to use for this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my bait. I'm going to get the treble hook out of the way. Probably ought to take it off of the bait. And then you're going to go right here in front of the magnet. If you go too far up, it's going to kind of defeat the purpose of what we're trying to do here, and it'll still have leverage to wiggle this loose. And I'm going to take my spinnerbait wire, and I'm going to go about put 2 holes about 1/8 of an inch apart, just the same width as your staple here. So right there, I'm going to stick it through there, and I'm going to make it come out the exact width out of the back of the bait. So as you can see, you get a little guide hole going right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to do the same thing, get a guide hole going. Then I'm going to take my staple that I just made, and I'm going to take that and stick it right in front of the magnets, right through those guide holes. Make sure you keep your fingers right here and just make everything drive through the back of that bait perfectly straight. It's going to come right out those holes just like that. So now you've got a staple going through your bait, and here's where you're going to want to take, you could just leave it through there, but I always take an X-Acto knife. I get it right up to the belly of the bait. It's going to dent in the belly and just kind of cut it where it can go right up against that harness. So get your little hole started there with your X-Acto knife. Pull it on up. It's going to go up inside the bait, just like that. Then you can take some Mend It. Super glue works really, really well too. I like Mend It just because I have some around. And just take the Mend It and just fill that hole up where it's going to kind of close everything up. And that's also how you can repair whenever that magnet starts to come out. So get it all in there just like that. Hold the bait together. Like I said, super glue works just fine if you don't want to get Mend It, and it's going to close that hole up to kind of seal everything up. So now you've got basically your big clip sticking out of the bait. As you can see with the seam of the bait, it is perfectly even on each side of the bait. That's really important to making the bait run straight. If you get it kind of off to the side, it'll knock the bait out of balance and you'll have trouble with the bait. So got it coming right out of the back. Everything's perfect. Take your needle nose pliers, grab onto one side here and kind of push down just a little bit, and then just bend that wire over to a 90. Like you can see here, the back of the bait's not dented down or anything. We did that one perfect. And then go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Like I said, 2 inches length on that staple is perfect because it's not too short. You can still grab a hold of it and work with it. And then you still got, your bait's not dented in. It's not all smashed in. That one's really, really good. And then you got everything bent over to 90 that's going to keep it that way. So from there, you just kind of take your clippers and just clip off just, I don't know, maybe an 1/16, 1/8 of an inch just to hold it all together. And then you've got a perfect brace to be in the back of that bait. Now, it looks kind of goofy. You'll see it whenever it's in the water. The fish are not going to see it. It's going to be up on top of the bait. You can put your hook back in the bottom of the bait. And like I said, that is going to hold that bait together. And you're going to catch 10 times more fish on this. Like I said, the tail's going to fall off. They're going to bite it off. Or the bait's going to break in half before that wire harness gives out. So these baits are expensive, and nothing worse than having a good confidence bait and then something bad happening to it where you got to stop in the middle of a tournament day. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. I'll keep these tips coming. Thanks for watching.